Kellen was just a mechanic. He didn't wear armor, he didn't carry a gun. He worked with wires, gears, broken drones, old machines no one cared about. He lived alone on the edge of the Varaxis colony, far from the royal cities, and he liked it that way, until the signal came. It started like static, just a soft buzz in his workshop's receiver. Kellen wiped his hands, leaned over the dusty console, and adjusted the tuner. A voice came through, cracked, robotic, but clear. Test complete. Subject Delta 1 responds to remote kill commands. Empress orders deployment to Sector 9. Eliminate the human asset. Kellen's eyes narrowed. Sector 9, he whispered. That's here. He replayed it twice. Human asset. Deployment. Eliminate. He stood frozen. Then the screen flashed. Coordinates. A countdown. 20 minutes. Kellen moved fast. He grabbed a small pack, tools, data chip, and sealed the shop doors. If the Empire was sending something to kill him, he wasn't going to die sitting in his chair. Outside, the sky darkened. Clouds spun unnaturally above the hills. Then he heard it. A sound like thunder and metal grinding together. He turned toward the cliffs and saw wings. The creature was massive, larger than a dropship, covered in black scales and bronze plating. Its wings stretched wide, crackling with energy. Its tail thrashed like a whip, and its head was a thing from nightmares. Sharp metal horns, glowing red eyes. A jaw full of plasma teeth. It wasn't a beast, it was a weapon. Kellen dove behind his workshop as the dragon beast landed hard, shaking the ground. Dust rose, trees bent. It scanned the area with a deep, growling pulse. The scanner in its chest blinked blue, then red. Target acquired. Kellen didn't breathe. He knew running wouldn't work. He knew hiding wouldn't last. And yet, the beast did not move. Something was wrong. Kellen peeked out from behind the debris. The dragon beast's head jerked slightly like it was in pain. Its claws dug into the dirt. Its wings twitched. A low rumble came from its throat, not a growl. A groan. Kellen noticed a small flicker on the side of its neck. A panel. Sparking. Broken. Curiosity over fear. Kellen stepped out slowly. Hey, he said, his voice barely above a whisper. You okay? The dragon turned toward him, eyes blazing. Kellen didn't flinch. I heard the signal. I know they sent you. But you're not fully under control, are you? The beast stepped forward. Then stopped, shaking its head. Sparks flew from the neck panel. Kellen raised his hands. Let me look, I fix things, it's what I do. A long pause. Then the beast did something Kellen never expected. It lowered its head, just slightly, just enough. Kellen walked forward, slow, careful. His fingers reached the open panel. Inside, wires, sensors, a control chip, overloaded and glitching, pain pulses, a command loop, locked on kill. Kellen took a breath, pulled out a small tool, and cut the red wire. The chip went dark. The beast froze, and then it blinked. Softly. Kellen stepped back. No command loop now, he said. If you attack me, that's on you. The dragon beast didn't move. Then it looked at him and sat down. High above, inside her floating palace, the Empress stood watching a hologram screen. She wore a crown made of bone. Her eyes were cold, her voice sharper than steel. What do you mean the target survived? A soldier bowed low. The control chip failed, my Empress. Impossible, she hissed. The screen showed a grainy image of the beast, calm, resting beside a human figure. Her voice turned deadly. He fixed the beast. She turned to her guards. Send a hunting squad. Kill the man, kill the beast, and burn everything he's touched. But down on Varaxis, the man and the beast sat quietly under the stars. The dragon beast let out a slow, long breath. Kellen looked up at the sky. I don't know what you are, he said, but if you're not here to kill me anymore. He smiled. Maybe we can help each other. The beast didn't speak, but it didn't need to. It bowed its head, and for the first time in its life, it chose. The dragon beast didn't speak, but its eyes did. As the sun rose over the rocky hills of Varaxis, the massive creature sat outside Kellen's workshop, its wings folded, tail coiled, chest rising and falling in slow rhythm. Its breathing sounded like wind through steel pipes, tired, heavy, mechanical. Kellen stood a few meters away, tools in one hand, a protein bar in the other. He hadn't slept. He hadn't dared. Instead, he watched and studied. The beast, Kellen still didn't know what to call it, was quiet now, but its armor was scorched. Its right foreleg was trembling. One of its wing joints sparked every few seconds, and a long scar stretched from its throat to its belly, sealed only by welded plating. This thing was powerful, beautiful, but it was also in pain. Kellen stepped closer, slowly. "Hey," he said softly. "You saved me by not killing me. So, now, I'm going to return the favor." The dragon raised its head slightly. No growl, no fire. Just one long, slow blink. Kellen took it as permission. He knelt beside the beast's leg and pulled out a scanner. It hummed as it passed over cracked armor and biometal fusions. "Damn," Kellen whispered. "They built you tough, but they didn't build you to last." He scanned deeper, and the results shocked him. The beast wasn't just made of machinery. It had a living nervous system, real tissue, real pain. It was part creature, part machine and part slave. "Poor thing," Kellen muttered. "You weren't created. You were forced." The dragon tilted its head almost like it understood. He kept working. The most damaged part was the base of its neck, where he had disabled the kill chip the day before. Beneath that, he found shards of broken control plates, wires fused to nerve endings, and a pulsing black node. A tracker, still active. "They're still watching you," Kellen said. "No wonder you shake like that." He paused. "I'm gonna remove it. It'll hurt." The beast didn't move, so Kellen did it. Quick, clean, the tracker came out smoking. He threw it into a lead-lined box and sealed it. The dragon let out a low growl, but not at him. At the pain. At the past. Kellen stood up. "You need a name," he said. "I can't just call you, hey you." He looked at the massive black wings, the bronze armor, and the glowing red embers in the creature's throat. "Ashrand," he said. The dragon blinked again. "Yeah," Kellen grinned. "You like that, huh?" Ashrand huffed a cloud of warm smoke into the air. By mid-morning, Ashrand was eating. Raw meat, grown in the lab. Kellen had some stored in cold packs. The beast took it gently, without snapping or roaring. It was learning. So was Kellen. He spent the day adjusting plates, sealing leaks in the armor, and repairing 2 of Ashrand's wing servos. The beast flinched sometimes, but it never attacked. Every time Kellen touched a nerve or rewired a sensor, Ashrand held still. It trusted him. That night, as stars returned, Kellen leaned against the dragon's side. His workshop had been destroyed in the Empress's first strike. His life was already marked. There was no going back. But now, with Ashrand beside him, maybe there was a way forward. In the skies far above Varaxis, a black ship floated in silence. Inside, Commander Vale knelt. Before a hologram of the Empress, she did not expect this, he said. She underestimated the human's mind. The Empress's voice crackled. No. She underestimated the beast's soul. She paused. Send a second strike, not to kill, to capture, alive. I want both of them. Back on the ground, Kellen sat beside a fire. Ashrand curled around the clearing like a massive wall of scales and breath. I know what's coming, Kellen said, talking more to himself than the beast. They're not going to stop. Ashrand's eye opened slightly, red glowing. Watching him, Kellen took a deep breath. Maybe it's time. We stopped running. He stood, walked up to Ashrend, placed one hand on its chest. Tomorrow we test those wings. Ashrend didn't answer, but it lowered its head and spread its wings wide, slowly, like remembering how. In that quiet moment, Kellen didn't feel like a fugitive. He didn't feel like prey. He felt like a rider, and the dragon didn't feel like a weapon anymore. It felt like freedom. The sky above Varaxis turned gold with morning light. Winds swept over the rocky plains. Dust moved in spirals. Birds stayed low, silent, as if they knew something powerful was waking. In a canyon hidden from the satellites and warships of the Empress, a human and a dragon stood face to face. Kellen tightened the straps on the saddle. It wasn't a real saddle, not at first. It was made from scraps of hoverbike seats, rope, metal plates, and leftover cargo webbing. He had shaped it to fit between the armored joints of Ashrend's back, just behind the shoulder blades. It took 2 days to build it. It would take 1 moment to see if it worked. Ashrend stood still as Kellen climbed the stone platform beside him. The dragon's black wings flexed in the rising sun. His glowing eyes watched Kellen closely, not with anger, but with something strange, like curiosity or loyalty. "You sure about this?" Kellen asked, running a hand over Ashrend's bronze-scaled neck. "Because if you drop me mid-air, I'm gonna haunt you," Ashrend growled softly. It sounded like a laugh. Kellen smiled, placed one boot on the saddle strap, and slowly climbed up. The moment he sat between the beast's shoulders, the saddle adjusted, the harness locked, and Kellen's pulse spiked. He wasn't afraid. He was ready. "All right, Ash," Kellen whispered. "Let's fly." Ashrend crouched, and then he jumped. One massive push of clawed feet against rock, and they shot into the air like a missile. Wind screamed past Kellen's face. His stomach dropped, his grip tightened, and then the wings opened. Boom! Whoosh! Ashrend soared upward, cutting through the clouds like a knife through silk. Kellen let out a shout, not fear, not pain, a roar of freedom. He was flying, on the back of the most feared weapon in the galaxy. Ashrend flew high over the canyons and wastelands, his wings silent and strong. Kellen leaned forward, using the reins to guide gently. The dragon responded with small shifts. Left, right, higher. They weren't perfect, but they were together. After nearly an hour, Ashrend landed softly on a cliff overlooking a fuel station, far outside the capital. Kellen slid off his back, legs shaking. That was insane. Ashrend huffed, nudging him like a proud beast. Kellen laughed, sitting down on a flat rock. "I think you were made for war, but born for something else." Ashrend looked out over the horizon. Something caught his attention. Smoke. Thin trails rising in the distance. Kellen stood. "That's a patrol." Ashrend's body stiffened. His wings twitched. Kellen nodded slowly. "They're looking for us." He pulled a small binocular scope from his side pouch. 3 Empire skimmers, scanning teams. And in the center, a woman, in dark armor. "Commander Vale?" Kellen whispered. "The Empress's hunter." He looked up at Ashrend. "We should leave." But the dragon didn't move. He kept staring at the distant patrol. Kellen understood. "They hurt you. Controlled you. Used you." Ashrend growled low and deep. Kellen took a breath. "Then maybe it's time they see you again." Back at the fuel station, the patrol was busy checking comms and running scans. Commander Vale stood tall, her eyes cold behind her helmet. "No movement," one soldier reported. "Only scavenger drones." "Keep looking," she said. "The beast is near. I feel it." Suddenly, a shadow passed overhead. Everyone froze. The wind shifted, and then, a roar, Ashrend dropped from the sky like thunder. He didn't attack. He landed on the cliff just above the patrol, calm, still, massive. On his back, a man, a human, in scrap armor and goggles, sitting straight, unafraid. The soldiers stared in silence. Commander Vale's voice cracked. Impossible. Kellen raised one hand in a slow wave. Hi. Ashrand spread his wings wide. Not in threat, in warning. Then he leapt into the sky again, vanishing behind the rocks in seconds. Gone, but not forgotten. That night every outpost on Varaxis buzzed with rumors. The human rode the Empress's beast. The killer dragon didn't kill. He commands it now. In the royal palace, the Empress watched the grainy footage, her face turned pale. And then, red with fury. Bring them to me, she whispered. Both of them. Alive or in pieces. But in a dark canyon under stars, Kellen looked at Ashrand. You're not her weapon anymore, he held out a hand. You're my friend. Ashrand bowed his head, eyes glowing warm. The bond was real, and it was growing stronger. News spread across Varaxis like a storm. A dragon beast, once feared across the stars, had returned. Not alone, not in chains, but with a human on its back, in Nai. The capital city of Virel. Panic began to bloom in the streets. People whispered in alleys. Officials shouted orders into broken radios. Sky towers flashed warning lights, but no one, not even the Empress, was prepared for what came next. High above the clouds, Ashrand flew steady, his wings cutting through the early light like blades of fire. Kellen sat on his back, calm and focused. He wore a reinforced vest, goggles, and a patched cloak made from torn Empire flags. On his belt, a data module blinked softly. He wasn't coming to fight, he was coming to be seen. The plan was simple. Fly over the capital. Let the people witness the beast they feared. Let them see it choose peace over violence. Let them see the truth. Ashrand growled in agreement as they neared the city. Kellen patted the side of his neck. Easy, big guy. No fire today. The dragon rumbled quietly, like a thundercloud choosing not to strike. Below them, soldiers pointed into the sky. Sirens blared, towers locked in on the incoming shape. Target approaching, Bioclass Titan. Open fire? Wait, there's someone riding it. Kellen turned on his signal booster and broadcast a message across all public channels. People of Virel, I am Kellen Holt, mechanic. You know this beast as a weapon. I know him as a friend. The Empress sent him to kill me. I fixed him instead. I freed him, and now he flies with me. Not for war, but to show you what your Empress fears most. Choice. People flooded rooftops. They watched as the dragon soared over the city. No fire, no attacks, just power, under control, and a human, holding the reins of something that once brought death. Inside her palace, the Empress stood frozen at her window. Kellen's voice played on every screen. She gripped the edge of her throne. This is treason, she whispered. He's turning them against me with mercy. An officer stepped forward. Shall we activate the auto-defense towers? No, she hissed. I want him shot down by my hand. Ashrand circled the central tower once more before rising. Higher into the sky, Kellen looked down, scanning the crowds below. People weren't screaming. They were cheering, not for him, not even for the beast, but for the idea that something so feared could choose something else. Suddenly, alarms screamed. Missiles launched from the palace roof. Here we go, Kellen muttered. Ashrand roared and twisted midair, dodging the first strike with ease. The second missile clipped his left wing, sending sparks flying. Kellen held on tight. Don't fall, don't fall. Ashrand spiraled, caught the wind again, and climbed. The palace lit up with cannon fire. Kellen grabbed the side handle of the saddle and spoke. Into his mic. Transmission ready? The data module blinked. He hit send. Within seconds, the city's broadcast towers flashed. A video played, footage of Ashrand in pain, screams from test labs, the Empress's voice commanding the kill switch. A file labeled Project Obedience. Proof that every dragon beast was built through torture and mind control. Gasps echoed through every street. People dropped to their knees. And in the sky, Ashrand let out a roar, not of rage, but of freedom. The Empress screamed as the footage played. In her own chamber, her guards looked away. One even stepped back from her. "Traitors," she growled, "all of them." But in her heart, she felt something colder than betrayal. She felt fear. Above the clouds, Ashran slowed. Kellen leaned forward. "That's enough. They saw. They heard." The dragon rumbled softly, then turned east and vanished into the rising sun. In the hours that followed, resistance banners appeared across Varaxis. On walls, on buildings, on the backs of civilians, not red like the Empress's crest, but black and bronze, the colors of a dragon no longer owned. That night, Kellen sat beside a campfire in the hills. Ashran rested behind him, wings curled around like a living fortress. Kellen looked up at the stars. "They'll come for us harder now." Ashran didn't growl. He just watched the fire, waiting, ready. Because today they flew for peace, but tomorrow they might fly for war. The cave was silent except for the sound of slow breathing. Kellen sat cross-legged on the cold floor, back against the wall, fingers tapping on his portable datapad. Around him, ancient tech blinked dimly, relics from before the war. Shelves of rusted coils, fractured drives, and cracked memory cores surrounded him like ghosts, and in the center of the cave lay Ashran, the dragon beast, curled like a mountain of bronze and black steel, sleeping, healing, and waiting. It had been 3 days since they flew over the capital. The Empire hadn't struck back yet, but the silence was louder than any missile. Kellen knew what was coming next, so he dug into the truth before the truth was buried again. Ashran's body wasn't just armor and scale. Underneath, inside hidden slots and subdermal ports, were data clusters, encrypted logs stored deep within the dragon's neural core. They weren't easy to reach, but Kellen had learned every inch of Ashran's body by now, and he had earned the dragon's trust. So when he asked, "Can I go deeper?" Ashran had simply lowered his head and exposed the access port behind his left eye. Hours passed. Code flashed across Kellen's screen. It was messy, half-corrupted, but one file played clean. A video log. A lab. Bright lights. A younger version of the Empress wearing a gray uniform. No crown yet, just ambition in her eyes. She stood beside a much smaller creature, still large, but younger. Sharper eyes, wings folded, claws chained. The Empress spoke into the recorder. Project Sentinel. Test subject Ashran. Bioengineered Guardian class. Designed not for war, but for royal defense. He was made to protect life. Built from noble Drake DNA. Enhanced intelligence. Empathy circuits. But empathy is weakness. She turned, face colder now. I will reprogram him. Strip his loyalty. Burn out the compassion. He will serve not as a guardian, but as a god of fear. The video stopped. Kellen sat frozen. Ashran's breathing shifted behind him, louder now, disturbed. Kellen turned. The dragon's eyes were open, watching. "You saw it," Kellen said softly. Ashran didn't move, but a single low rumble echoed through the cave. Not rage, regret. "She changed you," Kellen whispered. "Twisted what you were made to be." Ashran slowly raised his head. His body shook, not from pain, but from the weight of memory returning. He wasn't born to burn cities. He was born to protect. Kellen stood and walked closer. "This whole time you weren't the monster. You were her greatest fear, a weapon with a soul." Ashran let out a breath that sounded almost like a sigh. Kellen placed a hand on the dragon's jaw. "You're more than machine, more than flesh. You're you." That's what scares her most. A long silence passed. Then Kellen said the words that made the air feel heavier. "We can fix this." Ashran tilted his head. Kellen stepped back and pointed to the datapad. "There's still a piece of your original code locked behind a failsafe. It might restore your full memories, your purpose, but if we open it," he hesitated, "you'll feel everything again." Ashran didn't blink. He lowered his head. He was ready. Kellen input the sequence. The cave dimmed. The datapad glowed white, then black. Ashran shuddered. The beast let out a deep echoing sound, part roar, part cry. Flashes of memory surged through his mind, standing beside children, guarding temples, lifting rubble from villages destroyed by war. He had saved lives, once. Before, she turned him. Ashran's heart pulsed harder, not from rage, from awakening. When the data transfer ended, Ashran lifted his head higher than ever before. He didn't roar, he didn't fly, he just stood, like a king rising from the ashes. Kellen smiled. You're not her dragon anymore. Ashran looked at him with glowing, steady eyes. He wasn't anyone's beast now. He was Ashran the Protector. And deep within the royal palace, alarms began to flash. The Empress sat in her chamber, staring at her black mirror. The screen showed a new symbol, not of rebellion, not of death, but of a winged creature standing above fire, wings wide, unchained proud, a forgotten crest from a forgotten program, Sentinel class. She rose from her throne. He remembers, she said bitterly. Then louder. Launch the final order. I don't care how many die. End this bond now. But far away, in a cave filled with firelight and truth, the bond between man and beast had never been stronger, and for the first time in centuries, the dragon chose to protect again. Storm clouds rolled over the marble spires of the Empress's capital, but this time they weren't made of rain. They were ships. Black, silent, heavy, marked with no flags, flying low, hidden in the dark. Rebel. Transports, smugglers, whispers with wings, and leading them was the mechanic who rode a dragon. Inside the old mining citadel, deep below the city, Kellen stood at the center of a dusty hall. His jacket was torn, boots scuffed, but his eyes were clear. Beside him stood Ashran, wings folded tight, smoke curling from his nose in slow, patient streams. The beast did not roar. He did not need to. His presence was louder than any scream. Across from them stood a dozen rebels, leaders from fallen colonies, exiled scientists, and one figure dressed in a dark hood. The hooded figure stepped forward. We saw your message. The voice was female, sharp. You gave the galaxy hope. Kellen nodded. Hope's not enough. I want to finish it. Ashran shifted behind him. He didn't trust these people. Not fully. Not yet. The hooded woman continued. The Empress has one final vault, a control chamber that links to all remaining beasts. If we can take that vault, we can break every chain. Kellen stepped forward. Where? She paused. Inside the palace, underground, guarded. Kellen narrowed his eyes. Too easy. The woman's voice tightened. Are you saying we don't know what we're doing? I'm saying, Kellen replied, that she does. Suddenly, boom. The ground shook. Screams echoed through the hall. From above, metal crashing, walls crumbling, dust raining from the ceiling. Kellen's instincts kicked in. Move! Ashran spun, throwing his body over Kellen as explosions tore through the chamber walls. Soldiers in red armor stormed in, the Empress's royal guard. The hooded woman turned and ran toward a side door. Hey! Kellen shouted. You said this place was secure. She looked back once and her face twisted into a smirk. Then she said one word. Exactly. Betrayal. It wasn't just a trap. It was a gift-wrapped execution. Ashran roared and launched forward, smashing through two guards with one swipe of his claws. Kellen pulled a small pulse bomb from his belt and hurled it at the support beams. Boom! The roof caved just enough to block the hallway behind them. Kellen climbed onto Ashran's back. Get us out of here, now! Ashran blasted through the eastern wall, wings snapping wide as he leapt into the underground air duct tunnel. Steam hissed, sirens screamed, but they moved like fire through smoke. Bullets flew, orders barked. Flames burned, but nothing could stop them now. They broke through the tunnel exit on the far end of the city and vanished into the clouds, disappearing just as the Empress's personal fleet arrived to clean up the mess. Inside her throne room, she smiled as she watched the flames. "They brought him right to me," she whispered. "Phase 2 begins now." Far from the city in a broken temple nestled between black cliffs, Kellen and Ashrend landed hard. Ashrend collapsed to his side, panting. One of his wing joints had been hit. Kellen slid off, covered in ash and blood. "That was a trap," he muttered. She knew. She planned every move. He slammed his fist into the stone. "I trusted them." Ashrend lifted his head weakly, one eye glowing. A soft, low growl escaped him. Not anger at Kellen, but a warning. "Don't lose yourself." Kellen sat down beside him. The stars above were sharp and cold. "She wants me angry," he whispered. "Wants me desperate." He looked at the smoke rising in the distance. "She didn't break us. Not yet." A small transmission came through Kellen's earpiece. Scrambled, weak, but real. "Kellen, this is Dr. Soli. Not all of us betrayed you, and you have one shot left. The vault's real. She's guarding it herself." The message ended in static. Kellen stood slowly. He looked at Ashrend. "Then it ends where it began." The dragon pushed up with one claw, stood shakily, wings trembling. "But ready." "Tomorrow," Kellen said, "we fly into the heart of her palace. Not to run, not to show mercy." Ashrend's eyes burned brighter. Kellen tightened his gloves. "We end her rule. We end the fear." From mechanic and monster, to rider and friend, and now, to a symbol the galaxy could believe in. The skies over the capital were black, not with clouds, not with night, but with smoke and silence, the kind that falls just before the storm hits. High above the tallest tower, a red beacon pulsed. That tower was the vault, where the Empress had stored her final weapon systems, her control cores, and the last command codes for the beasts. And tonight, one of those beasts was coming home. Free. Ashrend's wings were stiff but steady. His wounds were wrapped. His flight was shaky, but in his eyes, pure fire. Kellen sat tight on his back, armor strapped, eyes locked on the horizon. Neither of them spoke. They didn't need to. Tonight wasn't about talking. It was about finishing what she started. They dove through the clouds like a bolt from the stars. Sirens screamed, turrets locked on, missiles launched. Ashrend dodged one, then two, then took the third to the chest. Boom. Smoke poured from his side, but he kept flying. Kellen leaned forward. "Almost there, buddy, almost there." The vault tower rose like a blade wrapped in metal and glowing light. Ashrend landed on the top platform with a crash of stone and sparks. Kellen jumped down, blaster drawn. The steel doors opened without a fight, and standing inside, waiting, was the Empress. She wore no crown, just black robes, tight gloves, and a silver chain in her hand. At the end of the chain, a trigger device. One press could shut down Ashrend's heart. She smiled. "Do you really think this ends with your little rebellion, Kellen?" He didn't answer. She stepped forward, eyes cold. "You brought him here. My creation. My dragon." Kellen raised his voice. "He's not yours." "He was mine before he had a name," she shouted. "You fixed him, freed him, fine. But you can't change what he is." Kellen smiled slowly. "You're right." He looked back at Ashrend. "He's not just a weapon, he's a protector. He was never born to kneel to you. He was born to rise." The Empress lifted the trigger. Her thumb hovered. "You forget," she hissed. "I still hold the leash." Then, a click. Nothing happened. She clicked it again. Still nothing. Her face froze. Impossible. Kellen reached into his pocket and pulled out a small black chip. "Removed the kill link last night," he said. "You should have checked your tech." Ashrend stepped forward, smoke rising from his nostrils. The Empress backed away. You can't," Ashrend growled low and deep, shaking the entire tower. Then, he bowed, not to the Empress, but to Kellen. Kellen stepped beside him, eyes locked on hers. "We don't need to kill you," he said. "We just need them to see you." He pressed a button on his wristband. Across the city, every screen, every device flickered to life. The Empress's image, trembling before the beast she built, the people saw, and in the silence that followed, they chose. Later, when the guards arrived, she didn't fight. There was nothing left to rule. The dragon had bowed to no crown. A week passed. Ashrend flew freely now, over open skies. Kellen rode him no longer as a fugitive, but as a friend, as a symbol. The people had begun to rebuild. Flags were changed. Voices were louder. Children cheered at the sight of wings in the sky, not in fear, but in awe. And one night, at the edge of the world, Kellen sat by a cliff. Ashrend rested beside him, tail curled around his feet. "You're not just a legend," Kellen said. "You're living proof that no one can decide what we are, but us." Ashrend let out a soft sound, deep and calm, and together, under stars, brighter than war could dim, they watched a new world begin, because the Empress sent a beast to kill a man. But that man came back, riding a dragon. And the dragon? He bowed to no master, only to freedom.